Hey there, everybody. Welcome to episode 18 of the Galactic Window Space Podcast. My name is Nick. I am also known as the Orbital Alliance here on the internet.
And my name is Tan, also known as Chasing the Milk.
We're back for another episode this week. It's Monday night, and we just want to make you guys know right up top that this is actually a pre-recorded episode. We are not live, even though this video will be premiering quote live here on YouTube as a live event. The chat will be here, so everyone who's tuned in, can participate in the chat still and discuss amongst yourselves. But if we are not answering your questions or replying to your always hilarious comments, it's not because we're ignoring you. It's because we recorded this last week. So,
Yep, we're basically AI today for this episode.
Chat GP Tan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right. We're AI bots. We have been all along. Joke's on us, I guess. But yeah, we decided we needed to do this because Tan's gonna be out of town, and we wanted to make sure we could get that same dynamic with both of us in the episode. And we thought the best thing to do would be to pre-record. So what we're gonna do in this episode is slightly different. Maybe hails back to some of the earlier episodes of the show. Like I'm talking like episodes 1 through 6, where we did sort of like an astrophotography show and tell with our guests. But instead, Tan and I are going to showcase some of our favorite photos that we've taken, talk about why we love them, and maybe how we took them. Maybe there's a cool story behind it. So that's what we're going to do today. So are you excited for that, Tan?
Yeah, dude. It was really tough picking out the photos, but the ones that we both chose, I think you guys will like.
For sure. Same. Yeah, I'm feeling good about it. And I've got some photos queued up. Tan's got some photos queued up. So let's just get right into it. Tan, do you want to go first? Do you want to share your stuff?
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool. Take it away, man.
All right, so we are going to start. Let's see here. Let me find this window. Okay. Let me know when you can see it.
I can see it. I see your window.
Okay.
And for those of you listening, we'll do our best to describe our photos to you. We know that might be a little bit challenge in this episode, as you guys maybe are just listening as you're driving or something like that. But definitely be sure to come back to the episode when you have the ability to watch the video portion, because that will obviously help. But yeah, we'll do our best to describe it along the way.
Yep. Good call, man. So we are going to start off with the Milky Way galactic core specifically. Now, this was shot in somewhere in Georgia. I don't remember. I think I just picked somewhere on the map away from the city. And this, for just a disclaimer, this photo, I don't think it's anything to write home about. But there are a few reasons why was really excited to pick this one. So this was the first time I did a collaboration with a company. And these guys here go by Spencer's Camera. They're located in Utah, and they do a really good job of modifying cameras for you. So whether you're looking for like a full spectrum camera or just even an HA modified camera, that's a whole other story if you guys don't know what it is. But in short, it basically allows you to collect different wavelengths. In this case, this camera is a HA camera, so it's going to allow me to collect a lot more of the red, which is why I left most of the colors in this photo kind of like this reddish tint. But it's a huge 50 millimeter shot of the Milky Way going over this this looks like a little lake, and it was the first time that I actually got to use this camera. So one, I was just really excited for that. But two, it was the first time shooting in Georgia. Georgia is a place that I frequent a lot. It's like another home to me. So it was a really, really special night. Again, nothing crazy about the photo, but I really love bringing out some of the HA. If you look at the Lagoon Nebula, like kind of like towards the middle of the screen, you can see some of that, and even towards like the left here, towards the Eagle and Omega Nebula. But yeah, this was just a photo will always revisit.
Dude, that's so cool. I love the choice of using a 50 millimeter lens, because that gives you that a tighter shot, when normally a lot of people, when they're doing wide angle Milky Way photography, they want to get as much of it as possible, and they shoot these like huge open like view landscapes. But tightening it up draws your attention to the core, like you were saying, and I think that's a really cool choice. You can see more of that detail. Curious, do you happen to recall what speed that lens is, like what the like max aperture is?
I think it was my 24 to 70 Tamron, so it was 2.8.
Oh, okay, cool. So it was on a
Yeah.
zoom. Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, so let's
Sweet.
move on to the next one.
Yep.
Okay,
Bro.
so this one, man, it looks a little dark on my screen, but hopefully you guys can see it. So this is a composite shot. So what that means is I'll tell you a little bit about the location, then I'll get into the composite. But this was shot at the Toadstool Hoodoos, place that you know, Nick.
Yep.
It was the first time I was out there, and yeah, at the time, we couldn't really see the Milky Way, but this was during the closer to winter, so Orion was out, and the Toadstools is a really cool place, just about an hour away from Kanab, Utah, and yeah, it's a really cool area. But I lined up Orion so you can kind of see it behind this little structure here. But what I meant by composite is that a single photo won't look like this at all. In fact, I don't remember how many photos I took of Orion behind the structure, but basically I took one photo of the structure, or I think maybe about 5, just to get a little bit of a clean image. So I stacked that into one photo where you can just see the rocks. And then what I did was I took all the photos that was of the sky, and I combined them into one single photo as well, and then combined the two. So everything is where it needs to be. The only difference is that there's just a lot more data in what you're seeing. So a single photo would just be pretty dark, but this is known as Barnard's Loop. It's just like this really beautiful region that encompasses Orion and its belt. There's a lot of stuff happening. You can see like Betelgeuse at the top left there, just really, really bright. Rigel at the bottom. The Witch Head Nebula, which is also to the right of the star Rigel there. The Horse Head Nebula, the Orion Nebula, just a bunch of stuff happening. And I thought it'd be really cool to not make that the main focus, but the structure. So that's what you're seeing here, Nick.
Dude, the framing and the composition is so cool because you get to see all of Orion from head to toe over the horizon, yet still in the frame. And it makes me feel like it's like you could rename the Toadstool Hoodoo as Orion's chair.
That's funny.
It looks like he's taking a seat on it. It's like a stool.
Yeah, I'm really proud of this one. Barnard's has always been a tricky thing to get, just because it's I wouldn't say I'm the greatest deep space photographer, but this is something that I was definitely really proud of.
It's such a cool shot, dude. Really, really
Thank
cool.
you. So we're just gonna move on. This is an oldie. But a goodie. I might have revisited this photo a few times just to try to clean it up, but if you're listening, it's
I was gonna say, holy crap! Get it?
it's a church, guys. It's a
church.
photo of this. I think it's an abandoned church, and it's about an hour and I think 20 minutes away from home for me, from St. Louis. And this is one of the first spots that I learned how to photograph the Milky Way. It's close by to the OG spot, which is where I learned, but this takes me back to probably 2019 or early 2020. And my friends and I, we would shoot at the OG spot and then drive, I think maybe just 10 or 15 minutes to this location. And it was cool because there's not much traffic here. It's got this like really creepy vibe. If you look towards the background, really tiny on the left, you can see like a little cemetery. So there's a little bit of that, and I don't know, something about buildings, especially churches at night, seeing it with the Milky Way. Maybe a ubiquitous kind of composition, but I really like this photo right here.
It's a beautiful one. It's like the steeple's like reaching into the Milky Way core.
Yep.
Side note, it's one of my new goals. One of my new Milky Way goals is to do a shot of one coming out of, like, in a cemetery with gravestones in it. That's an idea I came up with in July, and I have yet to execute it. But it's probably have to wait till next season. But you're like,
Do for Halloween.
Oh, yeah. You're connecting the dots for me, man. Seeing this photo, and you're reminding me I need to pursue that. So well done, man.
For sure. Hopefully, you don't catch any spirits or anything else that you aren't expecting.
Yeah, we need it's something different than a hydrogen alpha filter to see ghosts, right?
Yeah.
It's a ghost, like a poltergeist
Ghost filter?
Yeah.
Poltergeist filter. All right, so next up is one of my favorites.
What is happening there? What is this?
Shrooms, man. For all you shroom lovers, they're just giant mushrooms. This place was shot at a location called the Cosmic Reunion, and I don't know. The place might still exist, but basically, it is it's like an area where people will come together to do like festivals and stuff. So think of like Burning Man, but more like locally to Missouri. And the owner of the site has all these really cool structures around the property, and again, they host like all these cool little festivals. But a friend that I had met at my local astronomy park told me about this place, and we exchanged numbers, and very soon we shot at this location. And I just remember seeing the mushrooms, and I'm thinking like this, like I have to take a photo of this. It's almost obligatory. It would be an insult to not stop and take the time to do it. So again, we framed the Milky Way where we needed to be. I don't remember what lens and even what camera I used, but I just remember thinking like this is probably going to be one of my favorite photos of all time. And it's still, even with all this stuff in the background, like the building, which I didn't really like, and even this like electrical box hanging outside of the mushroom here, not a huge fan of, but at the end of the day, that's exactly how it looked, and I'm pretty happy with it.
Was the moon out for this shot? It looks like the ground is kind of lit a little bit, or is that like some other kind of ambient lighting?
I think there was light pollution, but I think we did have a small crescent moon a little bit to the right.
Okay, yeah. That it looks like that makes sense because the shadows are a little bit to the left.
Yeah, It must have just gotten dark, but yeah, this is the Cosmic Reunion mushroom.
So cool.
Thank you. Next up, we have the infamous, or maybe not infamous, maybe just the famous Devil's Tower site located in Devil's Tower, Wyoming. And I chose this photo because it's more than just a photo for me. This was a trip that I went with Dan, that and it was my first time embarking on a really gnarly trip. So for us, it was about 17 hours driving. We had a trailer, so we were limited with how fast we could drive. But it was the longest time I've ever been on the road, and we drove 17 hours basically just for a couple of photos for this. And this was one of many photos that we took tonight, and it was so hard to pick from all of them. But this one I really liked just because whatever this grass is and these little wooden structures, I just felt like it added a lot more depth to the overall photo here.
It looks like there's like a fiery spirit behind the Devil's Tower construct, which totally makes sense. Like just the tone of the Milky Way, it works perfectly with it. It's so awesome.
Cool, man. Thanks. Yeah, I'm really happy with this one. And of course, having Antares and the whole row Ophiuchus here is always just something so cool to see.
Yeah, dude.
All right.
Ooh.
So this isn't like the most detailed photo of the moon that I have, but it was one of the first times that I got to photograph the moon up close. I don't remember what telescope I used or even what setup, but I think I used a planetary camera. And like if you zoom in really close, you'll see plenty of flaws. But for me, this was a huge moment for me because I had realized that I had potential and that I was definitely capable of photographing the moon up close. Like me, just a normal human being who just got into the hobby is capable of doing this without spending a huge amount of money. So yeah, I don't remember, like I said, I don't remember what stacking program I used or even how I got this photo, but I have not deleted it, and it just serves as a reminder that you can get up really close.
Yeah. Oh, man. Do you happen to know what that big crater is in the upper left?
Dude, I feel like I should know this. I want to say like Copernicus.
Okay.
but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I'm one of those people that's not very well versed in lunar craters. I know Tycho, and that's kind of
Hmm.
where my knowledge ends. I feel like I know a few more names, but I don't know where they are. So like, yeah, it's hard to keep up with for sure. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's like it's so crispy, dude. Like, it always baffles me, boggles my mind, like how large those craters actually are. You know,
Hmm.
how many miles, tens or 100 miles long or something like that. Like they could be, and here we are looking at them. They look tiny, but they're just so big. Oh
Yeah.
man, amazing. Yes.
One of my favorite photos, and you know, a lot of these photos, especially this one right here, I have a lot of these moon portraits, is what I call them, where it's just me standing with the moon in the background. A lot of these were photographed from a friend or some other friends because you know it took a bit of work to kind of get to where I need to be. And if you can see me, I'm holding my phone. Most likely, I was on speakerphone with my friend. That way, we're communicating to each other, and he's telling me exactly where I need to stand to be in the shot. But this was one of the, I think this was maybe the second or third time where we had attempted a full moon portrait. And you know, it's not difficult, but it does take a bit of planning. You have to figure out where the moon's going to be, and you have to figure out how far you're going to shoot the moon, and then also just lining it up too. So usually it's me scrambling at the last second, and he's yelling on the phone. He's like, "Go a little bit to the right." No, my right. And because I can't see what's going on, right?
Yeah.
I am only I'm at the mercy of his directions here. So we finally set up the frame, and I don't know if this I don't remember what month. I wish I knew what moon it is, like what
Hmm.
if it was a buck moon or a harvest moon, but it was it was one of my most favorite. It's still to this day one of my favorite things to do is just take these kind of photos.
It's kind of like some of my first memories of your videos on TikTok are the ones where you're trying to capture these shots. So it's like when I see photos like this, I immediately think of you. You know.
Oh, nice.
Well, and what's crazy is you were saying you were scrambling, you know, last minute to get this shot, like because that's probably. And correct me if I'm wrong. Like the moon at that focal length, that zoomed in, the moon rises extremely quickly. So like it's likely that the moon was touching the grass, like what, not even a minute before that, and then
Correct.
the rotation of the Earth, you know, it spins and it moves up. So like you had maybe seconds to get lined up with it, you know.
Yeah, you're exactly right, and that's why I say scramble because it's not like oh take your time and pose real quick. It's like dude, do as much as you can. My friend is just gonna hold down the shutter button and he's just gonna machine gun it, and whatever we get, we'll get. You know,
Yep.
absolutely.
Ah, it's so cool, dude.
Thank you. Yeah, it's definitely man, I think I've got like 8 of these now, but I just want to do one every month if I can.
Right. Yeah. Why not? Yo.
All right, so we're going back to some milk. So this photo here is extremely special to me. It's in fact it's probably the less like this is a single image. This is way before I even learned about tracking. I even learned about stacking, and those are basically just a little more intermediate to advanced techniques to get sharper Milky Way photos. But in layman's terms, this was just a single photo that I just edited. And what makes this photo special to me is a culmination of a few things. For one, I like how the composition looks. This was shot in late 2019 or 2020, so this was when I was just learning how to photograph things. Like I went from just
What?
shooting only Milky Way to saying, oh, maybe I can make it look more interesting by including some trees in there or a fence. So I'm really happy with this composition. But two, the main reason why I really like this is the all the colors here. All of these colors happened by accident, and in fact, I was actually really upset before I saw the photo. When you're taking a Milky Way photo, you're taking a long exposure, so your camera shutter is open for a longer period of time, which means that during, let's just say this was like let's just say it was 20 seconds, right, for this photo. Within that 20 seconds of your camera shooting, any bit of light, like you walking in front of the camera or you shining your phone or headlamp into the camera, will introduce that light into the image. It will basically ingrain itself into the image. When I snapped this photo, a truck had driven by and shined his headlights, and then also he even stepped on his brakes. And I remember complaining to my friend, I'm like, "Oh, dang it, man! This guy just ruined my freaking photo." I'm like, because we usually don't get any traffic at this location. It's pretty rural, so we weren't expecting a car. But I remember just complaining about like this random car that drove by. I'm like, whatever, man. Like this guy screwed up my photo. And it turns out when I hit the playback button on the camera, I'm like, wow, he actually painted the foreground. Otherwise, like the grass would have just been, everything would have been black. It would have just been like a silhouette shot. And that's what I was going for. But had that accident happened, like that exposed me to light painting. And I'm like, wait a second, like this guy just painted this. And from then on, I actually started intentionally using light to paint subjects, or to use my flashlight to paint the grass a little bit, just so you can bring out a little more detail.
Dude, every problem is an opportunity in disguise, right?
I love that. Yeah, definitely a happy accident, and still to this day, one of my favorite photos.
It's something that I want to see printed on canvas in a house. That seems like it's got that, like it's autumn. Let's like swap out the artwork in the house. Like let's throw up it's got the autumn burn to it. Dude, that's so cool.
Yeah. Thank you. It's actually one of the first photos I even printed too. All right, let's see. I think we're getting close to. We got a few more here.
Okay.
A lot of milk. If you guys can't tell, I'm a big fan of the Milky Way here. So this was shot the Great Sand Dunes in Colorado.
Okay.
And it was it wasn't nothing crazy about this photo, but it was my first time going out with my friend here. We basically just reconnected, and on a whim we're like, hey man, do you want to just go travel to somewhere dark and shoot some Milky Way? And he agreed. And so it was, for me, it was a special moment, because I usually don't do this, right? So we had a blast shooting the Milky Way. The whole time there, it was mostly cloudy from the wildfires. I don't remember what year, but there was a lot of haze and wildfires in the area. But there was one night where we managed to get a tiny little bit of window, and this is the cabin that we stayed in, and we were outside snapping photos all night. And this is one of the photos that we got.
I love the headlamps.
Yeah, got to do the headlamps.
You're making a SpaceX.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely a memorable night. Okay, and then I think this is the last one here.
Oh yeah, I remember this one. Oh, cool.
Yeah. So this one was an interesting photo. It's a composite, so there's a lot of fake stuff in here, if you couldn't tell. But the Milky Way's real. Me in the helmet and the spacesuit is also real. I took the time to bring that out and line up the shot where I want it to be. Actually, the only thing that's fake in this photo is the spacecraft that's crashed there, and then some of the rubble that you see on the bottom. There's actually like a restroom right here. But this is a local spot that my friends and I, my astronomy friends, we will frequent this spot just because it's pretty dark and it's only a little over an hour away from home. But I remember wanting to do this thing where I would visit places that I thought would look interesting or maybe even alien. I would bring my spacesuit, and it could just be like a series where I just go out and photograph myself with a spacesuit. But at this time, AI was kind of like taking the world by storm, and there's a whole bunch of AI tools, and I'm like, you know what? Let me see if AI can just make this look even cooler. So I literally just prompted them. I think I just typed in like spacecraft or something like along the lines of that. And it was one of the first images that it spat out. And I said, this is perfect. This is all I need. So I just left it as it is, because it did such a good job of hiding the bathroom and adding the spacecraft. And yeah, I just ended up just keeping this.
That's next level cool. Like utilizing the newest and latest tools in the creative scene to augment an already existing image, and turns it into something imaginative and thought-provoking. Like that spacecraft looks like a SpaceX Crew Dragon on steroids. You know, it just looks like
Nice.
super, like enlarged and beefier. You know, like a super dragon.
Sweet. Yeah. So that's my top 10 list of photos, and again, I think it was really difficult to only choose 10 because I have so many, but these are the ones that I thought had from like, off the top of my head are really special to me, and I'm happy to share this with you guys.
Yeah, that's so cool, dude. Oh man.
Well, enough about me, man. I'm really excited to see what you got up your sleeve here.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. We'll pass the baton here. Let me pull up my window share. Go back. Here we go. All right. Swapping over. All right. My live. There's my photos.
Starting off with a banger, dude.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, I had to connect the dots here because this is a photo composite from the time that you and I met in person for the first time. So I thought it made a lot of sense to do one where you and I had been together in the same area during these shots. This is the annular solar eclipse from October 2023. So this is about a year ago in just a few weeks. So that's pretty cool. Tan, you and I have now physically known each other for over a year, almost a year, which is pretty insane.
We gotta celebrate our anniversary soon.
I know. In-person podcast.
Yeah, that would be sick.
Just saying. Hint. But anyway, this, like I said, this is a composite. So that event that we went to, we drove out to, or not drove. Well, I guess we did. We both flew out to the West United States. So this was taken in northeastern Arizona, just north of Kayenta, Arizona, in Navajo Nation territory. And this is a 3-hour progression of the moon covering the sun, mostly. So I took a series of shots throughout the eclipse event, and then I went into Photoshop and lined them up and made a line. So I kind of like cut them all out and put them in a row. So the one on the left is like the last moment of the sun before it got covered, and then the moon slowly moves into frame. Then the middle one is the Ring of Fire annular eclipse. So the moon was at such a point in its orbit that it was far enough away from Earth that it wasn't going to cover the sun entirely, like a total solar eclipse. So that's why it's an annular eclipse. And then it just is, scoots out of the way. And then it's a 3-hour progression. So that last frame all the way on the right is the sun sans moon. So that's super fun. I love making these composites. I did one for the total solar eclipse too. It was a little different than this, but I had a really good time doing it.
Beautiful photo, and just an incredible day too, man. I'll never forget that.
We had pristine, perfect weather. Not a single atom of water in the sky for cloud cover. It was nothing.
It's perfect.
It was, you couldn't have asked for a better day, and it wasn't even that hot either. In fact, when it got kind of cool, didn't it? When the sun got covered, it was like almost jacket weather.
Yeah, for sure.
And we're in the dead middle of the desert too, so kind of weird. Changing pace here. Aurora.
Damn.
This is one of my recent photos. I've kind of brought it up on the podcast that, in the Perseid episode just a few weeks ago. This is from up in Manitoba, Canada, northern Manitoba, when I was up with Justin, aka High Hopes Aurora. And we had this beautiful corona happen above us that was just perfectly timed. With when we were out there was a CME that hit the Earth, and it was bouncing around, and it gave us this really cool, powerful moment, and just snapped this 14 millimeter frame with the tree silhouettes in the foreground. And this is basically looking straight up. So with those ultra wide lenses, I just tilted my camera like almost vertical. It might be at like an 80 to 85 degree tilt. You just catch so much of the sky, and the colors and the shapes. It looks like some kind of bird or like a flaming phoenix of some kind. Super, super cool.
Looks crazy, bro.
Right.
Just the sky exploding. It really is what it looks like a portal opening.
Yeah. And I fired a few shots of this moment, and then I switched over to video, and I just let the camera roll on 4K video for, 15 minutes after this, just to watch this particular band of aurora just kind of flutter along until it dissipated into like just a green haze. But these moments are very short. They happen very quickly. So you got to be firing your shots. And if you miss these cool shapes, you miss them,
Yeah. Incredible photo, man.
Thanks, dude. Thank you. Switching it up here. All right, this is where my nerd starts showing a bit.
Dude, I love this one.
This was this June, June 2024, out in the Rockies in Colorado. And I went out on a night with my friend, his son, and my wife. At that time, we went to explore the Milky Way in the pitch black mountaintops, 12,000 feet. It was this like cool night, and I brought this toy with me. We threw this in the back of my car as we drove out there. We had my AT-AT. I could go get it. It's right over here. So it's from Star Wars, this like Imperial Walker. It's like a foot tall, give or take. And I shoved this in my trunk because we brought it all there. I was like, hey, I'm gonna bring this. I want to try doing like a model to make it look like this thing is like a real vehicle walking around the mountains, which it would do in the Star Wars universe, but get the Milky Way core in the background. So this is with a 35 millimeter lens. I put the camera maybe about 3 feet away. We put some rocks on the base of the walker there, so it you couldn't really see anything weird. It was actually really difficult to get the shot because the camera, it was on the ground, not on a tripod, and I had to use like little rocks and pebbles and things to
keep it in place.
Exactly. Yeah. It was really hard to get it right because rocks are uneven and crooked. So like every little bump, the camera would tilt out of position. So I have a ton of photos of these that I was not happy with. And this is definitely the one that was like, this is it. And I just love the distortion on the Milky Way because it looks like kind of a radial blur almost. Kind of warps it in a really neat way. So this is definitely one of my experiments. And I want to do more like this where I add props to the scene, and you can see the snowy mountains in the bottom right, like that's actual snow in the distance too.
Yeah, dude, all the colors, even in the background, like from the stars, like the blues and the whites, the browns are so amazing. Did you shoot at like 1.2 or something, bro? Like the aperture is insane in here.
Yes, it was very shallow. It was definitely sub 2 because it's a 1.4 lens. So
okay.
I'm trying to remember specifically if I upped it a little bit to get some depth on the AT-AT because it's kind of thick. So if I was at 1.4, there's a chance that most of it wouldn't be in focus, but it might be 1.8, maybe f2.
I'm just thinking 1.8 in my head when I see that. It's beautiful. Love it so much.
Can you see Scorpius in the bottom on the right side, the shape of the constellation?
Yeah.
That arc of stars.
Mm-hmm.
Super cool. You can see the tail curling between the legs. It's almost like the AT-AT has a tail.
I love it. You needed some stormtroopers in there too, and that would have been like icing on the cake.
Dude, okay, now I need to buy some toys, some stormtrooper toys, which I have a bunch. But I should get some more and then make a little army, like they're parading on a scouting mission or something. Dude, with the good ideas, man. Okay, switching it up here. This is Comet Neowise.
Forgot about Neowise.
Yeah.
Love it.
So this was I would argue it's one of the more ambitious shots I've taken in terms of timing. So Comet Neowise of 2020 put on a big show. You can see it there near the center, that kind of orange wisp. There's also some atmospheric haze on the lower horizon. Obviously, it's right by the horizon. So this was happening about 3:30 in the morning. So I remember setting an alarm for about 1:30, getting up, and with a few hours of sleep, packing all my gear, driving this location where I knew there was going to be a pond because I wanted to get a reflection of the comet in it, which you can see in the bottom center. There's a reflection of it.
So insane, dude.
But the icing on the cake was not just to get a shot of the comet, which I wanted, was to get those lines up at the top of the frame, which are multiple exposures composited of the International Space Station flying over the comet. So
that's okay.
So that's what that is. So that's the International Space Station streaking across the sky there, above Comet Neowise. So it's like two astronomical features in one shot, which I always loved so much. It was one of the cooler moments. But you had to be there at the right time, firing shots at the right time, and had clear skies. It was a beautiful morning. I remember just sitting there on the edge of the pond for a couple hours by myself. No one was out. I was in the middle of a neighborhood and just having a grand old time shooting it. It was super cool.
Do you remember if this was shot whenever it was like really late to early or in the evening?
This was at like 3:30 in the morning.
Okay. I think
super
this was
early.
this was when it first started showing. It started up during this window, and then later on it did like the evening. But very
Right.
cool, man. Awesome
Yeah.
photo.
Thank you. Yeah, I was. This is definitely my favorite one of NeoWise. I got a bunch, but this was my favorite one.
It's a good
Switching
one.
gears to the moon. This is from this year. The reason I like this shot is you'll notice something. It's not a full moon shot. This is actually a waxing crescent moon, and the unilluminated side, it's not the dark side. It's just non-illuminated. Is actually visible. So this is illuminated by Earthshine. So this is an Earthshine moonshot. Pretty low in the evening sky, low enough to be hitting the trees. And this is actually taken from my backyard. So those are my neighbor's trees. And what you do is you overexpose a lunar shot to where the part of the moon that's actually lit, so like the bottom where it's like super white, like the little banana shape there, is overexposed to the point where you can no longer resolve detail. And then that gives you the proper exposure for the very dimly illuminated darker side of it. So you can pull all that detail out using exposure and then a little bit of editing in Lightroom afterwards, which I super love that you can do that. You know, it's a cool thing. Like, because even if you look at a moon like this with your eyes, you can see the unilluminated side. Your eyes can resolve it, but your camera can do so much more work. It even gives you the chance to put in some of the stars around it, which you normally can't when shooting the moon because you can't expose for both stars and the moon at the same time. Looking at moon conspiracy theorists there. But yeah, and then the icing on the cake for me in this shot, which is that on the right side, those like little tree branches that are kind of sticking up, it's moonlit. They're lit up by the moon a little bit there. Let me see if I pinch zoom, does that zoom in? Did that work?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this one right here, you can see
Oh,
it's
that's
kind of
cool.
like glowing. That's moonlight lighting up these trees, which I always loved that part.
I love that you appreciate the Earthshine photos because I go nuts with Earthshine moon. It just looks so cool.
Yeah, I've done it only a couple times, and I want to do a lot more. But you got to have the right conditions at the right time of the month, and I got to think of some more creative ways to use it. You know. Sticking with the moon theme, this is one of my all-time favorite shots I've ever taken in my life.
Sheesh.
This is the International Space Station transiting a waxing crescent moon. I'll zoom in a bit here. Let's see if we can get some detail. It starts to lose its fidelity at a certain
Dude,
point.
you can see it so well.
Right?
That's crazy.
So the solar panels are going to be facing the same direction as the sun for the most part. They're going to be kind of a little bit edge on with us, but you can't really tell because they're kind of flat, but they're definitely there. You can see the radiator panels and the modules of the space station. Kind of need to just blur your eyes a little bit, but this was with an A7R3, so it's a slightly older camera. I borrowed it from a friend. It's a Sony camera, and it did the job. It's at 600 millimeters, this photo. And I went out to a Home Depot parking lot to catch this one because it was in the right place, the right part of the path for that. So, but I made a whole
Nice.
video. There's a whole video on my YouTube channel. So if you guys are interested, I document this experience of catching this photo. So, I'll maybe put that in the description for you guys if I remember to do that.
Yeah, transits are so cool, man.
Space station theme. Here's a still photo of the International Space Station taken with my telescope. And I believe my planetary camera, my ZWO 224MC, the ASI 224MC. So this is close up,
Crazy.
and you, of course, can see the whole space station. Let's zoom in a little bit here. The fidelity, here we go. The fidelity looks a little fuzzy because that's about as good as I can resolve it with the equipment that I have. I'm using an 8-inch telescope with an 8-inch mirror, and then that camera recording into my computer, and then you record video, and then you pull the individual frames out. You can stack the frames for better resolution, but you can see the radiator panels here, these like kind of hatched big white squares. You can see the solar panels, the truss segment going left to right. You can even see the shadow of modules on the radiator panels, which is cool. You got the Russian segment down here on this side, and then the American segment going up the middle, the Japanese segment on the right, and the European module on the left. And then this little white nub at the top here is actually the SpaceX Crew Dragon. And if I remember correctly, this might actually be the crewed test flight of Dragon. They called it Endeavor. I think that was with Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley, who were on this one. So this was the test flight where they got that craft certified for human space flight, which is cool. So yeah, love it.
Insane. Whenever you're imaging these, you have to manually move the telescope, right? Or is it tracking?
You can do both. I've only ever done manual because I don't own a tracking mount. And these manual ones, they're very physical. You're holding the whole telescope. You're looking through your finder scope, just aiming at it, and it's like really shaky. It's all over the frame because it's so small. And I'm shooting at 2,000 millimeters focal length. It's a 1,000 millimeter telescope with a 2x Barlow on it, so it's like really, really zoomed in. Like any tiny little shiver sends this thing flying out of frame. Like it's that insane. So you catch a handful of frames manual and you just pull the best ones. But you have to nail your settings for exposure because those radiator panels are so bright sometimes that they overexpose and the rest of it is underexposed or whatever. It's kind of nuts. But
yeah,
people do track and they get way better resolution. It's more stable and they get way more frames because they're able to let the computer do the work. I'm not quite that cool yet.
I mean, still, that's pretty incredible just for what you have. That's all of my photos of the ISS are just little blobs that are still exciting because I know what they are.
Right.
But to someone who doesn't know what's going on, they're like, what am I looking at?
They're like, nice blob.
Yeah. Like, this is incredibly detailed, man.
Thanks, dude. Yeah, I'm long overdue to do a better shot. I'm at the limits of my equipment in a lot of ways, so the time will come when I upgrade and I can push the ambition a little bit more. Connecting the dots with your toadstool hoodoo photo, dude. This is a Star Trails shot. Let me zoom in here, and I've got that same toadstool hoodoo. Oops, I don't want to draw a box. Right in the middle, but it's silhouetted against the night sky. So what I did was this, believe it or not, dude, this is with a GoPro Hero 12. I took this photo.
What?
This is not even a mirrorless camera or a DSLR. This is with a GoPro. So they have a Star Trails setting now in GoPros. So I just went underneath the toadstool hoodoo and I just stuck the little tripod in the sand and on the little ledge there, pointed it upward. Did my best to find the North Star to line it up with the top of the hoodoo, and then I just snapped it. And this is about a 1 hour exposure. So,
dude, I love that Polaris is just right above it.
Yeah,
Like just a few degrees right above. It's perfect.
And that's kind of blindly guessing too, because there's no like preview for this. Like I can't line it up. I just took a bit. I looked visually and kind of like where my head was is where I put the camera. I was like, okay, this looks about right. I got to hope that the framing is correct. Otherwise I wasted an hour.
Man, yeah, that looks good because like even Polaris and everything circling, it just naturally brings the focus point to like right where you need to look, right at that structure. Beautiful.
And you can see a couple planes off to the right, these blinking streaks.
Oh, yeah, okay.
There's 3 of them over here. Oh, and they continue up in the upper left. So 3 planes went through on the same flight path during this 1 hour in the middle of the desert. So pretty cool. So you just let the exposure run and it streaks the stars because the rotation of the Earth is spinning all the time. So that's kind of how that works.
Cool photo.
Yeah. I got 2 more. And then here's this one. Another moonshot. I did a lot of lunar photography in this batch. But we got going here is a lunar halo. And I believe, when is this from? Do I have the date on this? I don't know if I can. Oh, this is November of last year, 2023.
Is that a planet next to it?
Yeah, I believe it's Jupiter.
Jupiter?
Actually.
Nice.
A little bit of
with the halo.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I had somebody call me and it was like 10 or 11 at night. They're like, bro, are you seeing that big ring around the moon right now? And I got up from my couch, ran outside. I'm like, halo. So I went in and grabbed my camera and fired this shot. So this is happening because there is like a prismatic refraction happening in the atmosphere. So there are ice crystals in the upper atmosphere, and moonlight and sunlight can do the same effect. So the light gets refracted by those ice crystals, and there's a certain angle. I'm trying to remember the number, like the degree. I know it and it's escaping me right now, but there's a certain angle, and then it forms like kind of a rainbow ring around it. It looks prismatic, so you can see the spectrum of colors more easily with your eye than in the photo. But it's this huge ring, and you can kind of see it's sort of hazy. There's some clouds in the atmosphere, like wispy, thin cirrus clouds, and it just glows against those. There's a big plane contrail that expanded that went right through it too, which was kind of neat. But yeah, I mean, these are visible with your naked eye. You don't need to have equipment for this. And this is the one time I captured it really well. I've seen it a bunch, and I never had my camera with me, and my phone couldn't quite capture it. So I finally did it right.
They're always so fun to look at, man. Every single time I see one, I just sit there in awe for minutes. And I think I don't know. Let me know if I'm wrong, but I just feel like I see them a lot in the winter.
Yeah, I think you're right because of the cold.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
they are just incredible to look at. I have so many. I have so many photos. I think I could actually make its own separate folder just called Moon Halos with a crap ton of photos in there. I love it,
cool.
man.
Sweet. You'll have to
Yeah.
show me some in your next batch.
For sure.
I looked it up too. It's a 22-degree angle of refraction. That I knew it was somewhere in the 20s. I just couldn't remember which one. I think I was getting confused because in last week's episode, we had talked about the tilt of the Earth, which is 23 degrees. And that number was still so fresh in my head. I was like, is it 22 or 23?
Pretty close.
But yeah, last photo I got, different, excuse me. Here we go. Rocket launch.
Dude, this is nuts, man. This is insane.
This is like one of the number one areas of astrophotography that I really want to get into more, but obviously you need to be near rocket launches. I'm up near Chicago, and
We gotta go, bro. I've never taken a photo like this.
I'm taking you. I'm not joking. Let's go. Let's freaking go, dude.
Yeah, for sure.
100%. Not even kidding. So this is a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket, and this is actually a still frame pulled out of 4K video. And we went, this was late 2022, August 2022. Saw two rocket launches in the same day. And that was the first time that had happened since like 1967 or something like that out of Kennedy Space Center. It was like some crazy
What?
2 rocket launches out of KSC at the same day. It was like, it hasn't happened in forever. It was crazy.
Historical. Wow.
Yeah, it was a historic day, and we happened to be there. This particular Falcon 9 was launching the KPLO satellite, which is the Korean Pathfinder Lunar Orbiter. And it was like an imaging satellite that's around the moon now. And SpaceX launched it for Korea. So they had a bunch of Korean delegates representatives being interviewed out in front of where we were for the photos, which was cool. We actually paid for premium tickets. Right, it was over on the observation gantry at Launch Pad 39A, the historic launch pad where Apollo and the space shuttles launched from. This is literally as close as you can get to a rocket launch legally, is right here.
Wow.
Which is pretty cool. And there's like a tower you can climb. It's like a big concrete platform, and all these people are all over it. And I had my cameras set up, and very, very cool. It kind of gets you up above the trees. You can see the water in the lower left, so like all the because it's on Merritt Island where Kennedy Space Center is. So there's all this water around. And this was, I always forget, 3 or 4 miles away. It's something in that range. So it's really close. Literally, you cannot get any closer. The next closest viewing site is 7 miles, and that's in the other direction. So, and this is also with a 600 millimeter lens at full length. So like, even though you're as close as you can get, this is also still stupid far.
The smoke is just probably one of my favorite things to see there. It just adds so much to the photo, man. It's so much power that's just caught in a single photo, you know?
And if you watch it really closely as it's happening, and even in any videos, go watch a video of a rocket launch. Watch how the sound and the power of the force of the rocket is pushing that smoke out just with sound waves. You can watch. It's not just the clouds flowing out of the way. It's being pushed in like big pushes. It's violent. It's really violent. It's like a water tower lifting, and then everything around it just getting pushed out of the way ruthlessly and violently. and you can kind of tell the brightness of the flame is very overexposed because it was a bright sunny day, and comparatively to the sun's intensity, that flame is pretty dang close. It's very bright to your eyes. It kind of blew my mind how bright rocket launches are. You can't interpret that from watching it in a video. It's like staring into a blowtorch, but miles away.
Are you wearing sunglasses when you look at them?
No, you can look at it, with your naked eye. You don't need any protection, but it's still like mind-bogglingly bright. You don't really have a sense for it until you really see it. But yeah, so that's my last photo was the rocket launch, and I hope to do a heck of a lot more creatively. But this was cool,
dude. Badass.
And we're back with our faces.
Man, now I'm just inspired to try to do a whole bunch of other photos and also catch a rocket launch sometime.
We'll just go to the tennis courts. We can get a bunch of shots of rackets. You were saying something about being inspired?
Yeah, being inspired, maybe wanting to catch a rocket launch or just even take more photos of the Milky Way. That's something that I originally, that was my goal for this year, was to go really nuts with some photography. But, I just feel like we didn't have great weather this year. And for whatever reason, just life took over, and I didn't have the as much opportunities as I wanted. But next year, I think that's going to be the year where I just hopefully go insane with some of these photos.
Yeah, full. I almost
full
said
send.
Full beans. Which,
Full
if you know
beans.
the comedian Jeff Mercury, there's a whole video about some fan of his who had the phrase "full beans" tattooed on her, and he was trying to get out of her, like, what does that even mean? And she's like, it means full beans. And he's like, you can't say that. It doesn't mean anything. Tell me what it means. Like, so
Full beans.
you got to go full beans, but it basically means full send. Yeah.
First time I've ever heard that.
Yeah, I think the rest of us too.
So that's the plan. We'll go full beans on the next episode, and hopefully we'll have something to share with you guys.
Right. Well, dude, thanks for showcasing your stuff, man. It was super cool to look at your work and to hear the stories behind it.
Yeah, likewise. Man, I think it'd be cool to do an episode where people could like send in their photos too, and maybe like we could talk about it, or they could tell a little story. But photos are just something that I don't know, that just holds so much. Like there's a story with every photo, and I know it sounds really ubiquitous and cliche to say that, but truly the reasons why I chose the photos that I did, amongst many others, was because they held a special memory or just a little bit of story that just means a lot to me. So I think it'd be a good idea to kind of revisit this photo dumping thing, and we'll have some more photos to share.
Dude, you make such a good point. It's a good idea. Maybe we can make a submission form and drop it in the description of a future episode, and then people can submit a photo and a description, and we can do a little showcase of like viewer astrophotography.
Well, yeah, guys. Hope you guys really enjoyed this episode. I think that's. I think that's all I got. That's all I got. We hope you guys enjoyed it. And Nick, if there's anything else you want to add.
Yeah, just stay tuned to us here Monday nights, 9 p.m. on YouTube. The Galactic Window Space Podcast will return for another episode. And
For episode 19.
Episode 19 coming back. Episode 19.
That's
hey,
crazy, man.
we're legal adults in this episode now, man. High five.
Nice.
Yeah. But like I said in the last episode too, we've been working on some pretty insane guestage here in the pipes, so we're really excited about those, and those will be coming out soon, hopefully in the next couple weeks as well. So stay tuned for that. Awesome, dude. Well, everybody, thank you so much for being here. Hope you had a good time in the chat. Sorry we weren't live this week, but we will be in future weeks. So you know the drill. We'll see you all on the other side.
See you guys.